Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the brand new Sixth Doctor box set. If you've watched the channel before, you'll know that I am quite a big fan of the Sixth Doctor range with Big Finish Productions. We've had the previous set that was called The Cosmos and Mrs. Clark. I loved the Purity Saga, which of course I didn't review because I wasn't doing that at the time. And we had the 40th anniversary of the Sixth Doctor last year, I believe, where we had the Quinn Dilemma and we had a story called Trial of a Time Lord, I think it was called, or Trials of a Time Lord, something like that, that for me were pretty good releases. And today we have a adventure called Bad Terms, which is not the best title for a box set. I haven't actually been able to work out what it means. This set is made up of two three-parters. We have the first story, which is Sorcerer of the Sea, which is a pirate story that you can see on the cover, with a female Irish captain and of course aliens. And in the second episode, the Doctor and Perry go undercover in a boarding school, looking for a teenager who has cried out to the TARDIS. Sorcerer of the Sea is a really great story. We have a captain, Saoirse O'Grady, who I didn't realise was not a real person until much after, and I listened to the behind the scenes, and after having a Google, I realised this character was completely made up. But this world felt so real, it felt like she was a real character and a real person. It's brought beautifully to life. As you can imagine, there's lots of nice imagery, and the swashbuckling is very cool. Episode 2 is quite a fun part for that. I do think that the reveal at the end was a little bit cliche. That's probably the best way to describe it. I felt like it didn't really earn itself. I felt like it didn't really fit the characters too well, and there's a lot of information about it that needs filling in. It felt a little bit too neat and a little bit too much of a coincidence that these things happen. God, it's difficult not to spoil things, isn't it? I was also really impressed by Gareth David Lloyd's performance in the episode, because obviously when we have Leanto on the cover, you think you're going to hear his iconic Welsh voice, and of course you kind of get little moments when you're like, oh, that's him, isn't it? But for the most part, I think he was really well disguising his voice, and I think that he was doing a really good job, and the material he was doing was very different to something that I've not really heard him play before, and I really respect him for doing that. But of course he is a trained actor, that is kind of his job. Episode 2, Red for Danger, has the Doctor and Perry go undercover, and I really enjoyed that aspect of them in the boarding school pretending to be other people, particularly Perry, who has to pretend to be a man for the entire story. The setting is really good because you have students and getting up to student stuff that you might see in like Human Nature, where they have dares and various things like that, which I quite enjoyed, and I felt they were interesting parts of the plot, and makes this story quite unique. At the end of part 1, as I was listening to it yesterday, I did go, oh, that's really interesting. I want to see what they do with that. And I really wanted to get into the next episode, but I had to go to sleep. The only trouble is, the more I've thought about it, and now that I've finished the story, there is an element of, there's not really much you can do with it. I'm slightly burnt out on this idea anyway, because I feel like it's been done fairly recently. But I do also think that they don't know really how to deliver on such a plot. I think they do it quite well, though. I think it's a really interesting plot and an interesting character moment for the Doctor. The trouble is, I don't think you can really deliver on it, and then having the story kind of use this really big idea that is quite interesting, but kind of rush it through and then subvert it, made me feel like it was just kind of unnecessary. I do feel like the 3-part idea works really well in this box set. I think that it gives you enough time to care about what's going on and not allow you to kind of get bored or force the writers to come up with cliffhangers or extra layers of plot, because I think that sometimes 4-parters can even drag themselves down by the fact they need to reach a cliffhanger, and it slows the momentum of the story down. And finally, am I satisfied by this release? And I'm going to say yes, because I do enjoy both the stories, and the Sixth Doctor, like I say, is one of my favourite incarnations on Big Finish. But I am going to say that you can easily skip this one. This is not that important. It feels a little bit run-of-the-mill in that respect. But that is a detriment to the quality that Big Finish provide for the Sixth Doctor and the stories and the arcs that he goes on. I'm hoping with the big cliffhanger that we've had in this story that we're going to see an arc or something like that form, because there has to be a reason to be doing what you're doing in the story. But one thing I'm thinking about is that this is a new production team that is doing the Sixth Doctor, and I know that they had the 60th last year that slowed them down a little bit, and this year's releases have been safe or been more experimental, and I'm interested to see what their creative vision is for the Sixth Doctor and what they're going to get up to next. And with a cliffhanger that promises what it does, I'm quite interested to see what they're up to. I do feel like I've been quite negative, so I hope the positives come across, but please let me know what you thought of this box set down below. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Subscribe if you are new. I have some 13th Doctor coming out next month, a Dark Gallifrey as well. It's weird that basically all of my releases come out in the first 2 weeks of August and not a lot else. I have a vinyl video that is recorded. I am slowly editing away at it, and I shall be hoping to get that out later this month. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.